Bowers and Wilkins just dropped the brand new Px8 S2. You know, the successor to the Px8. This is the best noise cancelling headphones that Bowers and Wilkins sells. So we're going to compare it to the best Sony sells, the equally password-like WH-1000 XM6.
The one thing we disliked about the Px8, well, one of two things and a few other things, is the fact that they had thicker ear cups, which made them look very bulky and heavy on the head. Bowers seems to have magic powers because the cups are much sleeker now, and in our opinion, they also look sleek and sexy compared to the other subtle looks that Sony is going for. And that's going to be a recurring theme on the Bowers, luxury. The materials just feel so much nicer. Bowers is using like aluminum arms and Napa leather like the one used in Ferraris. Mind you, the Sony feels light, but it does not feel cheap. Where the Sony does win is that it's much lighter and foldable. Sony's magnetic case was nice when you first got it, but in daily use, it's proved to be a bit less convenient.
Yeah, Bowers' case is a bit bigger though. The inside of the Px8 S2 headband is now also replaceable in addition to the ear cups, so that bodes well for longevity too. The ear cups on the Sony come off easily enough too, and iFixit found that the XM6 was pretty repairable overall. Both the Sony and the Bowers & Wilkins advertise 30 hours of battery life.
Yeah, pretty standard for this day and age.
Yeah.
For controls, Sony has fancy schmancy touch controls in addition to two very easy to hit buttons. But Bowers does it right in our opinion with an all button setup. And we think the newer generation actually does better with the button setup. With only buttons, you don't have to learn complex double taps and triple taps, except for track control. That the Sony does better with just the swipe. However, do keep in mind that if your hands are wet or if you're wearing gloves, touch control is much finickier than good old buttons. We're buttonophiles.
Yep. Yeah, neither of us are actually wearing the right shirt today again. But check out this shirt. It's part of our merch collection. And if you decide to buy it, then all proceeds will go toward a good cause for the rest of the year. That's shop.dhrme.nl.
One thing you got to give Sony credit for is just the sheer amount of features that this Audio Connect app is throwing at you. You're getting ANC modes based on your location, on your movement. You get scenes, a speak to chat feature that lets you start talking and automatically enables transparency mode.
Yeah.
If you like features and you like tweaking, well, Sony's got you covered. But how good is the actual noise cancelling?
Well, we'll start by saying that the Px8 S2 have taken a huge leap from their predecessor. They're not quite flagship level yet, but we'd say they're at the stage where if eliminating maximum noise is not your priority, then these are fine. We rank all the headphones we test on a scale, and we'd put the Bowers & Wilkins Px8 S2 in tier B. But you know what's coming. The Sony WH-1000 XM6 is simply top tier at tier S. Fantastic noise cancelling in addition to all the features we just talked about. What about the opposite of ANC? Letting in sounds from the world while still wearing your headphones? Well, for transparency, things are very different.
The Bowers & Wilkins are giving you excellent transparency performance, almost like wearing nothing at all. We also didn't detect any occlusion or white noise, which is great news.
Yeah, so fun fact, I'm actually wearing these headphones. They're in transparency mode. I have no issues doing this recording like this.
Nice. But we're still up against the Sony. And the Sony WH-1000 XM6 is also tier S for transparency. Both are just champs here.
But what about phone calls? Bowers & Wilkins is using 8 mics, which do double duty for ANC and voice pickup. So how do they do? Here are some samples and we'll come back with our conclusion. This is a quiet mic test on the Sony WH-1000 XM6. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. This is a mic test in quiet conditions for the Bowers & Wilkins Px8 S2. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. This is a noisy mic test on the Sony WH-1000 XM6. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. This is a mic test in noisy conditions for the Bowers & Wilkins Px8 S2. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. This is a windy mic test on the Sony WH-1000 XM6. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. This is a windy mic test for the Bowers and Wilkins Px8 S2. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing.
The Bowers stayed audible throughout the windy and noisy test, but were not pleasant under like extreme stress. In noisy conditions, the lower notes sometimes seep through. So you might have that if you're traveling in a bus, for example. In windy conditions, they did average as long as they weren't directly exposed to the wind, in which case there's a harsher sound you hear, and sometimes the voice is cut out too. Sony, on the other hand, went too aggressive in the wind and ended up just silencing Kevin's voice when under extreme pressure, and the same with noise. Sony would rather risk eliminating soft speech to eliminate noise, whereas Bowers keeps in the noise and the voice. Which one is better? Well, you choose. We'd rather that half our words weren't eliminated, especially since one of us is a mumbler. So we prefer the Bowers.
You know what's more important than sound though, Rowan? Comfort. Because if you can't wear it, you won't hear it. And on clamping force, both these have gone in different directions. The Sony's newer generation has a stronger clamping force, whereas the Bowers has a much lower clamping force compared to their previous generations. But between the two, we might actually prefer the Bowers here, just because the force seems to push down on the whole ear, whereas the Sony seems to push down on the bottom of our ears. Sony's ear cups are also shallower and have a protruding wear sensor and touch your pinna, while the Bowers has angle drivers that give your ears some breathing room. The Bowers memory foam also feels nicer on the pinna.
Let's talk about sound. And after we're done, we'll leave you with some samples so you can get a limited sense of what these cans can do. Of course, nothing like listening to the real thing.
You're getting a different suite of codecs here. Sony has obviously chosen to go with its own LDAC codec, and Bowers and Wilkins supports the aptX suite of codecs. They've added aptX lossless to the mix this time though. However, be aware that not all Android phones support these codecs, so you'll likely not get the best out of these wireless. However, you can use audio over USB Type-C on the Bowers, which you can't on the Sony.
What I like about the Bowers and Wilkins sound is that it's bringing something different to the table. So many of you loved the sound on the Px8 S2. So it's obvious that Bowers is doing something that people like here, even though audiophiles may not feel the same way. Luckily, we're not audiophiles. Buy the merch if you're not one either. Again, all proceeds from the sale of merch go to charity shop.dhrme.nl. Overall, with the Bowers, you're getting a bright bass tuning compared to many popular ANC headphones. Mids are a bit recessed, but the treble it's super bright and sometimes suffers due to the overly bright tuning. In terms of genres, EDM and pop benefit from good bass, drums are strong, and guitars are recessed sometimes. Busy progressive music can sound a bit crowded. Jazz sounds nice, but female vocals can again be affected by the bright treble. On balance, it works well with the variety of genres, and I like that this is a bit different from your regular fare.
The volume on the Bowers is much louder on Bluetooth than over USB Type-C, and we tested this on the S25 Ultra. 40% on Bluetooth equals 90% wired. And overall, it's plenty for us. There's a 5-band EQ that helps you make rough changes, like turning down that brightness. You're also getting spatial audio later this year, along with Auracast and LE audio.
But compared to the Sony, after some rough tweaks, I still found it hard to get the Bowers exactly to my liking, whereas the Sony's 10-band EQ gives you finer control. There's also a ton of features like Find My EQ, DSE Extreme, etc. that can positively affect your music.
Way back when we didn't care what they said. People could stare, I didn't give a damn, 'cause I was being next to you. Way back when we didn't care what they said. People could stare, I didn't give a damn, 'cause all I needed was my friend. Way back when. Way back when, way back when, way back when we didn't care what they said. People could stare, I didn't give a damn, 'cause I was being next to you. Way back when we didn't care what they said. People could stare, I didn't give a damn, 'cause all I needed was my friend. Way back when, way back when, way back when, way back when we was being next to you. Way back when we didn't care what they said. People could stare, I didn't give a damn, 'cause all I needed was my friend. Way back when, way back when, way back when.
Before we go to the conclusion, there's some more extras and a complaint we have about the Bowers. Sony has all the extras you could ever need, and then some. Sony comes with a couple of extras like voice commands and a wear sensor. Bowers' wear sensor is still super sensitive and sometimes behaves too enthusiastically. Yes, we know you can change the sensitivity in the app, but it's still too sensitive.
So before we choose between the two, let's thank all our supporters. This video is not sponsored. Bowers did send us the headphones for testing. Sony, we bought with our own money. But a big thanks to our tested tier members here and our lovely
Fuckmon tier members. Thank you, Rachel, Paula, and Radspanda. If you want to find out how to get on to this tier, check the link in the description. So on many fronts, it feels as though Sony wins, and on many fronts, it's the Bowers that's the winner. But that's not the right way to look at these products. When you buy luxury clothing, it's not the material that you're paying the premium for, but for the promise of feeling a certain way. And even though Sony is superior in many respects, those of you who are considering splurging 700 euros on the Bowers and Wilkins are probably doing it for emotional reasons rather than rational ones.
And to those we say, use the links in our description. If you want to see the Px8 S2 compared with the Sony WH-1000 XM6, click here.
And for a roundup of the best noise cancelling headphones across all budgets, click here.
Doi.
Do it.